What is the main advantage of genetic engineering? Correct. The correction of genetic defects is the right answer. What new technology could be used to cure malaria? Sharp thinking. Genetic engineering is the right choice. Ligase enzymes are used in genetic engineering to... Well picked. Join human DNA to plasmid DNA is the correct answer. What is the purpose of obtaining recombinant dye? Nice work. You chose to obtain specific proteins, and it is correct. Genetic engineering help in one of the following. Correct response. All of the above is the most accurate answer. Which one helped to cut down in genetic engineering? Strong choice. Enzyme is the right answer. Making an identical copy of an entire organism is... Well reasoned. Reproductive cloning is the correct choice. Which are most closely related to biotechnology? Smart pick. Medicine and agriculture is the correct choice. Dash living organisms use the same genetic code. Well done. All is the right choice. Mutations are important because they bring about... Excellent choice. Genetic variation needed for a population to evolve is the right answer. What is the role of DNA ligase in gene splicing? Smart move. 2 different enzymes used in genetic engineering is an accurate answer. Which technique separates DNA according to size? Great thinking. Gel electrophoresis is the right choice. The combining of a human gene with bacterial DNA. On track. Recombinant D is the correct answer. What is the ultimate source of genetic diversity? Good thinking. Mutation is the right answer. Which is an application of genetic engineering? Perfect. Creating synthetic insulin is the correct choice. Making an identical copy of a cell or tissue is... Nicely done. Therapeutic cloning is a solid answer. Which of the following best describes genome? You chose the full set of genetic information an organism carries. And it is correct. A product produced from genetic engineering is... Nice selection. Hormone is the correct and valid answer. Improvements take place over many generations. You're right. Selective breeding is the correct answer. What is the argument for genetic enhancements? Right choice. All of the above is the best answer. Which would require the use of recombinant DNA? Solid response. Engineering bacteria to produce insulin is a valid choice. An identical genetic copy of an organism is... Valid point. Clone is true. What is the science behind Belgian blue cows? Exactly. Selective breeding makes sense, and it is right choice. Which of these is not a use of DNA profiling? Good job. Your answer, genetic engineering, works well here. What is another name for genetic engineering? You got it? Your choice, gene splicing, is right. What is the limitation of selective breeding? Bravo. All of the above is the answer. All of an organism's genes is known as their... Excellent. Genome is a brilliant choice. Controlled breeding involves the control of. Great job. Parent selection is the accurate answer. The source of genetic variability comes from clear logic. Your choice mutations is sound and 100% true. Genetic engineering has been used to produce. Right again. All of these is a valid answer. How can organisms be genetically modified? You're right. By splicing genes from one organism into another is the correct answer. Genetic engineering is being used to dash. Great thinking. All the above is the right choice. Who is the father of genetic engineering? Excellent. Paul Berg is a brilliant choice. The Human Genome Project is an attempt to. You chose sequence the human genome, and it is correct. The first step to genetic engineering is. Great job. Isolate gene of interest is the accurate answer. What is selective breeding also known as? Solid response. Artificial selection is a valid choice. Changing the DNA of an organism is called. You got it. Your choice, genetic engineering, is right. A form of evolution controlled by humans. Nicely done. Selective breeding is a solid answer.
What is a vector in genetic engineering?
Perfect. The organism that carries the foreign gene is the correct choice. Which statement describes biotechnology? Sharp thinking. Making products with genetic engineering is the right choice. Used to deliver genes in genetic therapy. Valid point. Viruses is true. Two selective breeding techniques are. Excellent choice. Inbreeding and hybridization is the right answer. Transgenic organisms are created using.
Well reasoned. Genetic engineering is the correct choice.
The newest genetic engineering tool is. Right again, CRISPR is a valid answer. What is the CRISPR technique used for? Smart pick. To combat genetic diseases is the correct choice. Genetic engineering is also called as. Well done. Both A and B is the right choice. Risks of genetic engineering includes. Clear logic. Your choice, all of the above, is sound and 100% true. Artificial selection is also known as. Nice selection. Selective breeding is the correct and valid answer. The picture shows an example of dash. Correct. Genetic engineering is the right answer. What is the main focus of the video? Good job. Your answer, genetic engineering and disease prevention, works well here. Why might people be against cloning? On track. All of the above is the correct answer. Genetic markers allow scientists to. Smart move. Identify transformed cells is an accurate answer. The result for genetic engineering. Correct response. JUMO is the most accurate answer. What is the dye genetics movement? Well picked. A movement of biohackers experimenting with genetic engineering is the correct answer. The purpose of gene therapy is to. Nice work! You chose cure genetic disorders, and it is correct.
What are the two types of allele?
Strong choice. Dominant allele and recessive allele is the right answer. Electrophoresis is a method of. Bravo. Separating no fragments is the answer. What are transgenic organisms? Right choice. Organisms that contain genes from a different species is the best answer. Genetic engineering is used too. Exactly. Make mutations that can help people or the environment make sense, and it is right choice. Genetic mutations can be dash. Good thinking. Beneficial, harmful, or neutral is the right answer. Father of genetic engineering. Right choice. Pohlberg is the best answer. The genetic code for the gene. Nicely done. Genotype is a solid answer. What is the function of thumos? Bravo. To genetically modify organisms is the answer. What is genetic engineering? Solid response. The deliberate alteration of an organism's DNA or genes is a valid choice. Clones have the exact same. Smart pick. Genetic material is the correct choice. What is a genetic mutation? Sharp thinking. Any change in the DNA base pairs is the right choice. Genetic engineering means. Correct response. Editing, splicing, and transferring dye into living things is the most accurate answer. How do viruses reproduce? Well done. By injecting their genetic material into a host cell is the right choice. What are designer babies? Good thinking. Baby whose genetic makeup has been selected is the right answer. What does GMO stand for? Strong choice. Genetically modified organisms is the right answer. What is recombinant DNA? Well picked. Combining DNA from different sources is the correct answer. Gene therapy is used to. You got it. Your choice cure genetic diseases is right. Purpose of gene therapy? Excellent. Cure genetic disorders is a brilliant choice. The change of DNA code. Nice work. You chose genetic engineering, and it is correct. To increase yields. You chose increased productivity, and it is correct. What are plasmids? Clear logic. Your choice circular DNA capable of replicating within bacteria cells is sound and 100% true. What are genomes? Great thinking. All the genetic material in an organism is the right choice. What is a vector? Smart move. DNA molecule that carries genetic material of another is an accurate answer. A mutation is. Correct. Any change in the genetic code is the right answer. GMO stands for. Perfect. Genetically modified organism is the correct choice. How you will get all these quiz questions in PDF books format? On track. Contact Narayan Changda is the correct answer.